Up first we have Jacques Rosseau's ReshiZard build using the Greens engine. Now as far as Greens exploration lists with ReshiZard is concerned, this list is fairly standard. You run 4 Greens exploration and 4 welder, and that pretty much gets you into anything you need from the deck. Greens exploration lets you search out any 2 trainer cards, and these cards can be used to deal with pretty much any situation you might encounter. The welder, of course, is your energy acceleration. There's nothing too out of the ordinary here, so let's go on to Jacques' opponent's list, Zac. Zac is running a Victini VMAX build. All the standard cards that you might run in a fire deck are here. You've got 4 welder, 3 giant hearth, 9 fire energy, and a whole bunch of tech fire Pokemon that can attack in different matchups. Victini VMAX's max victory attack hits for 220 damage for 2 energy, but it only hits for 220 damage against V Pokemon. So against non-V Pokemon, like GXs and all other Pokemon, you need to hit with something like Reshiram Charizard or Heatran or Volcanion. The thing that stands out in this list is the 2-2 Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX line, with the 4 Rapid Strike energy in the deck. This allows you to deal massive damage to your opponent's bench Pokemon with its G-Max Rapid Flow attack, which does 120 to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. Victini VMAX's attack does 220 to an opposing V Pokemon. So that 220 plus the 120 from G-Max Rapid Flow can get a knockout on any Pokemon in the game. This means Zac's strategy in some games is to damage 2 targets with Victini VMAX before cleaning up for 6 prizes with Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX. In non-VMAX matchups, this still allows you to swing for 3 and 4 prize turns. So, now that we've seen these players' lists, let's see how they match up. And we are underway with round 1 of the Brisbane TCG Championship. Zac, the player on the right, is going first. He is the one playing the Victini VMAX with the Rapid Strike Urshifu package. Now it appears Zac has started the Dene, but has found his way into some basic Pokemon. The Victini V and the Urshifu V sitting on the bench there. The Victini has a fire energy attached to it. Can be a pretty decent attacker in this matchup, so long as you don't evolve it. The max victory from Victini VMAX, not able to do more than 100 to any of Jacques' Pokemon. We see action on Jacques now. The attachment of the Heat Fire energy, boss's orders on the Urshifu V, and it looks like he'll be Flare Startering to end his turn. Now, this is bad news for Jacques, because especially now that Zac has that VMAX Rapid Strike Urshifu in play, if he's able to find an energy, which he does seem to find here, and 2 switching cards, game 1 will be over very quickly, as that Gale Thrust will be doing 150 damage, knocking out Jacques' only Pokemon in play. So we see the Cherish Ball from Zac, looking for that Dedenne, trying to hunt down those switching cards that he'll need to close this game out very early. So this is round 1 of the Brisbane TCG Championships, and this was a tournament after the end of a 2 months point period in which these players ended up the number 1 and number 2 seeds in points total. So these are 2 very skilled players, and provided game 1 doesn't end too quickly, we might be in for a very good match here. Zac pitches a welder with his Dede change. We see those 6 cards. None of them seem to be a switch. Zac still has access to that Crobat in deck, so that communication in hand, he might be able to dig a little further if he so wishes. Looks like we're about to see that. He plays the Pokemon communication, putting Volcanion back in the list. And looking through his deck, we do see that, he's choosing to go with Victini VMAX instead. I believe he might have a second communication or another way to get Pokemon out of his deck at this point. Perhaps he's just trying to thin that out. The Victini VMAX, not so great in this matchup. Choosing to evolve that Victini V. Victini V's attack, Energy Burst, doesn't have a damage cap in this matchup, whereas so we see the Professor's Research drawing another 7 cards. Zac so far has already seen 13 cards. There's one switch, but we don't see another. So we'll be bringing that Urshifu VMAX to the bench. If he can just find another switch. He has the quick ball in hand, so he can go for the Crobat and try to close this game out. So we see him play that quick ball. The Crobat will almost certainly be the target here. Just checking through that deck, making sure, possibly even counting the number of switching cards in his deck. I believe Zac also has access to Escape Rope, which would also end the game just as surely as a switch would here. Doesn't really seem like a way for Zac to... Zac could bench the ReshiZard, which he does so here. He'll be using Crobat's Knight Asset ability for 3 cards, and he misses the switch. So Jacques very lucky to escape here. Jacques will get at least one more turn, but given how dead his hand is to only have one Volcanion in play, yeah, it looks like a bunch of energy. Jacques passes. Zac shows us Welder and energy. And he will be taking game 1 with a Gale Thrust for 150 on the active Volcanion.
This is what happens when you open hand.
No, sorry. Jacques has chosen to boss. Players are taking a strange order for that. There's the switching card. So the game is finally over. I apologize for that. I saw energy come down on Jacques' turn, and I wasn't quite sure what was going on. I think what happened there was Zac kind of revealed his intentions to Jacques a little too early there, and Jacques then saw boss as the best play, or at least the only play that didn't prevent him. It didn't allow him to lose right then and there. So we'll be going to a game 2 in this series. Jacques will have the choice to go first or second. Green's lists tend to want to go second, as this gives them access to their going second supporter card in Green's Exploration, along with Volcanion's Flare Starter, and even a card like Energy Spinner can be quite good for thinning your deck early, and especially if you have Welder in your hand. Yeah, so Jacques will be going second. He'll be starting Volcanion, which is his ideal starter. I wonder what we'll see Zac start with. There are many basic Pokemon in this deck, so odds are you're going to start something that isn't always ideal. We see Marshadow here. There are certainly worse starters in his deck. And Zac will be going first. Zac has a pretty decent opening hand here. He has Pokemon Communication, Quick Ball, and several energy, so he should be able to establish a pretty strong board going first here. So we see the communication, putting that Eldegoss V back into the deck. Eldegoss V is for getting your supporters back, and obviously this early in the game it's not that useful. See Jacques there showing some good sportsmanship by offering his opponent some gum. Zac declines the gum. Bit of a misplay from Zac there. Pretty good gum. Watermelon, I believe. So the communication gets Zac a Urshifu V. Once again, very strong attacker in this matchup, as Jacques is unable to defend his bench. So a G-Max Rapid Flow does 120 damage to 2 Pokemon. That, of course, is a knockout on Volcanion. However, knocking out Volcanion doesn't really get you anywhere in this matchup, as you need to take 6 prizes, and a skilled player like Jacques is never going to let you knock out more than 2 Volcanion in a game, and force you to go through 2 Reshiram and Charizards, always. So we see the fire energy come down on that Urshifu V, and a pass from Zac. And now actions on Jacques, who's played a Tag Call. Tag Call is a great card in this matchup, as it gives you access to not only your ReshiZards, but also cards like Cynthia Caitlyn and Mellow Lana. Cynthia Caitlyn is a great card in sort of slower decks like this. Obviously, drawing 3 cards isn't the best card drawing power that we have out of supporters in this game, but being able to take a supporter card from your discard pile is very useful, especially in Jacques' deck where he plays really strong supporter cards like Greens Exploration and Welder. Jacques has moved the ReshiZard and the Cynthia Caitlyn to the front of the deck, so that's almost certainly what he'll be taking here. Just thumbing through that deck to get an idea of what his prizes are, if he's missing any cards that are vital to this matchup. So the problem Greens decks tend to run into is that it's very hard to really accelerate through your deck the way that decks that contain cards like the Dene and Crobat are able to. In Jacques' case, you're only able to really go through a couple cards per turn, so you are left with situations where you have a deck that's over 30 cards large, and a Marnie or a reset stamp from your opponent then can be very disruptive, especially if you haven't really gotten to the bottom and flushed out all the cards that kind of brick up in particular matchups. So Jacques chooses to Welder, weldering only 1 energy while manually attaching an energy to his Pokemon. After the Flare starter, where he's able to accelerate 3 fire energy from his deck, he'll have the ReshiZard pretty much powered up there, so the Welder for 1 energy isn't too bad, although I still think I might like to see the Welder for 2. That way he gets ReshiZard fully set up along with Volcanion fully set up. Now we see that Jacques has chosen to reconsider one of his attachments, moving it from the ReshiZard back to the Volcanion. So he has 2 energy on the Volcanion, so it's ready to attack with its High Heat Blast, but now only 3 energy on the ReshiZard. The only real downside to over-attaching energy in this matchup is Victini. So Victini V's Energy Burst attack does 30 damage for each energy attached to both of the Pokemon. Now when you have 3 energy attached to ReshiZard and say 2 from a Welder onto a Victini V, that's doing 150 damage, which isn't nothing in a matchup like this where Zac can really struggle to get decent amounts of damage going with his attackers. So we see action back on Zac now. He's evolved into that Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX once again. And it looks like he'll be looking for that Rapid Strike energy in his deck. He runs 4 copies of that energy, and he's quick balling for Dedenne as we speak, so he'll get a very good look at digging through some cards and hopefully making it into that energy. Should he get that energy, the only issue left will be getting that Marshadow out of the active spot. But, however, power plant in play. Jacques points to the power plant. Zac has made a misplay here. He has dug for the wrong Pokemon. He has the Rapid Strike energy in hand, but no way to move the Marshadow out of the active. This is especially painful, as Marshadow's resetting hole ability, which lets it discard any Stadium in play, only works when it's on the bench. Now, it looks like Jacques will be able to, with a high heat blast, knock out this Mars Shadow and prevent Resetting Hole from bumping that power plant. This could lead to some pretty nasty turns ahead for Zac, where he's not able to play the Dedenne that he quick balled for, and also unable to bump that power plant in play. So if Jacques chooses to proceed that way, he'll be left only with the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX in play. And
It's like a checkmate situation.
Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX is kind of its calling card is doing lots of little bits of damage here and there over the board. So its damage cap isn't high, but when you're faced off with these Pokemon with 270 hit points, it can take a long time, especially if you're discarding energies with your G-Max Rapid Flow. Now really that was the only play there for Zac. He can't really do a Gale Thrust for 30, that's just not productive, but by discarding all his energy, he's made sure that it's going to take a long time for him to get that Rapid Striker set back up. And currently it's staring down a ReshiZard that's fully set up and ready to go. Jacques' only real choice this turn in terms of attack will be whether he goes for a Double Blaze or a Flare Strike. Either way, it's a path to a 2-hit KO on this Rapid Strike Urshifu here. Zac's in a lot of trouble if he can't get the cards he needs to get a foothold in this matchup here. The G-Max Rapid Flow last turn, it knocked out both Volcanions, and it's very unlikely we're going to see another Volcanion benched in this matchup. Jacques will almost certainly be forcing Zac to try and push through to ReshiZards in this matchup. So even though Zac is down to 4 prizes and technically has the lead, he still has to take the long way to taking the rest of his prize cards here. Jacques Poker Gearing for a Greens Exploration. One of the best cards in this matchup, obviously. The deck needs this to function at all. You don't run cards that allow you to go through the deck very quickly, like Professor's Research and Money, so your best bet's just taking out 2 cards at a time, but if they're the 2 cards you need, that's not too bad. So he plays a quick ball here for another ReshiZard. He'll be setting that up in the next couple turns, I imagine, with a welder. And we see a Flare Strike from the ReshiZard into the Urshifu VMAX here. So that'll be doing 230 damage. And although Zac has a Victini V in hand, unless he can get this Rapid Strike Urshifu out of the active, he's going to lose a very valuable attacker right here and now. Considering the attachment of the Rapid Strike energy here, really the best he'd be able to do, even if he did get 2 switching cards with this attachment, is a 150 damage with Gale Thrust. However, he might be considering attaching it in order to retreat into this Victini. That power plant still mocking him, staring him in the face. Knows he can't bench that Dedenne to really see more of his cards and try and find a way back in this. We see the Gale Thrust for 30. That's pretty poor. That damage isn't really going to help him in the long run, and Jacques' going to be quite free here to hit with Double Blaze for 200 damage. This will knock out Zac's only Pokemon in play with damage on it and leave him only with a Victini. I think just like game 1, we're headed for a very quick game 2 here. See Jacques just piling the energy on this backup ReshiZard here. And the double blaze for the 3 prize knockout. Jacques barely even needs the second ReshiZard. The first ReshiZard's doing all the work and only has 30 damage on it, so even if Zac draws the ideal cards here, he won't be able to get back into this game unless he takes out either of these ReshiZards, and it doesn't look likely. Zac pondering on what to cherish ball for. So he's put the hand in the deck. He's signaled to his opponent that, yep, you've got this. And with that, we'll be making our way into game 3 here. Both players will be shuffling up here. Zac will be, and we see the Crobat in Zac's prizes. So it wasn't too bad of a misplay for him to be quick balling for that to Dene with the power plant in play, as we now know that he didn't really have the option of Crobat's Knight asset ability there. Zac will likely be choosing to go first, I think. It depends how badly he wants Jacques to go first or not. Sometimes against these green decks, forcing them to go first can sort of ruin their plans for them, not let them get that first turn supporter or the flare starter from the Volcanion. See the GX marker flip back over, the players cutting each other's decks. Giving them a good and thorough shuffle here. I want them to be sufficiently randomized. Jacques once again will be getting to start with that Volcanion, his ideal starter, for 3 games in a row. If you ask any ReshiZard player, they'd be pretty happy with that. But Zac, not to be outdone, starts with his own Volcanion, the pre-release promo art from Unbroken Bonds. Very nice art there, the blue contrasting with the red of the Volcanion. Zac's hand consists of a lot of switches and a Dedenne. So unless he can find a way to draw cards another way, he might have to throw away some switches in this matchup, which is not very ideal when one of your main attackers is Urshifu VMAX. So Zac, after all, has chosen to let Jacques go first. This has worked out well for him, as he's starting his own Volcanion, a 1-of Volcanion, and will be able to get the flare starter off should he attach a fire energy to it. Now Jacques has quick balled a fire energy for a ReshiZard here. So he's attaching fire to it. Oop, gotta get those upside down cards the right way up in the deck. And yes, we will see the power plant. So Zac, however, has the Marshadow in hand this time. The ideal place to bump that stadium with the resetting whole ability. Benches the Urshifu V and immediately bumps that power plant. We will get to see a Dede change from Zac at this game. But at what cost? He has to throw away 3 switches.
I like what you've done here with the open handing 3 switches.
Yeah, I know. It's game plan.
So this is going to drastically alter Zac's game plan, as his ideal strategy of switching into Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX, hitting for 150 with a Gale Thrust on a ReshiZard, and then hoping to clean that up with the Gmax Rapid Flow, becomes much more difficult now. See the 2 players discussing the placement of a Victini on the board. Zac pondering over it. Once again in this matchup, the Victini is helpful only if you don't VMAX it. Max Victory only does 100 damage to any of Jacques' Pokemon. whereas energy bursts, energy cap is only limited to how many energy you can get on the Pokemon. And with Jacques wanting lots of energy for his ReshiZards, this can pave the way for some very heavy hits. Whereas with Victini VMAX, you're only really 3-hit KOing a tag team Pokemon, which isn't a very efficient way to get around. See Zac end his turn with the Flare Starter. He'll attach 1 energy to that Urshifu V, along with 2 energy to the Victini V on board.
Which is that's very good. I don't like.
So as it stands, Energy Burst is doing 120 damage to that
So spin for energy.
ReshiZard.
Fly starter.
Now it's not great, but it's also not nothing. 150 now, given that Jacques has attached to it. So 150 damage, but
Except for that. Like,
you don't have to switch in and out every time,
the one time we
with
punch.
only 1 switch left in deck.
Oh yeah, shit.
However, both players have Volcanion active, so any play like that would require a boss to get off the ground. I think both players might be content to just keep going with Flare Starter here. Might not even be a bad idea for Zac to consider Flare Startering an energy onto Dedenne, just to act as a pivot. But we do see the Rapid Strike energy come down onto the Rapid Strike Urshifu. So it is primed and ready to go once Zac VMAXes it. Problem there obviously is its lack of mobility in this matchup. Zac's ripping through his deck quite efficiently there. Gets to see 7 new cards. He has the Victini VMAX in hand. Now I'm not a big fan of this play here. He's severely kneecapped a very good attacker in this matchup. The 310 HP does take Victini VMAX out of one-shot range, but it's really just sitting there. All it can really do now is act as a pivot for later in the game. It's just not going to be viable as an attacker in this matchup. It might be useful for preserving the energy on board, however, perhaps for a Heatran play later in the game. Zac has tossed a welder with that quick ball and is grabbing the Mewtwo and Mew. The Mewtwo and Mew is a tech card in this matchup. It's great for hitting Pokemon that are psychic weak, like the Urshifus and opposing Mewtwo Mew. And we see a Flare Starter from Volcanion, most likely going into the Mewtwo Mew. So as of right now, Zac has 6 fire energy on board, which means Heatran's Hot Burn GX, along with its Burning Erode ability to move the energy onto Heatran, will be hitting for 300 damage, which is enough for a one-shot on a ReshiZard. However, Jacques runs cards in this matchup to make hitting 300 not quite enough. We have the Heat Fire energy, along with Big Charm, which can take ReshiZard's total health up to 320.
Quick ball from Mewtwo, yeah?
This is also great for getting out of trouble with the Gale Thrust into Gmax Rapid Flow play. Just taking a look at Zac's discard pile here. Trying to keep track of what is used. Big clump of switches in there. Although he already knew that. He's probably keeping that in mind as he maps out his turns here. Although, Jacques' hand is quite poor. We only see another ReshiZard and a switch in there. So while he is able to power up the second attacker, it's hard to tell when he'll be able to start actually attacking with it. However, they're both just waiting there on deck. That Volcanion's in the active, and unless Zac finds a way to hit for 120, it's probably going to be sitting there for a while. or unless he finds a boss. So both players kind of sputtering in this game 3. Zac's not drawing the ideal cards, and Jacques not drawing the ideal cards, and Zac has had to throw away quite a few very helpful cards in this matchup. So you see a welder onto that Volcanion. I wonder if we'll start seeing it attack. That high heat blast, if 4 fire energy are on board, does 110 damage. 10 short of knocking out a Volcanion, unfortunately, so the attack doesn't really progress the game state very much, unless you consider that if he attacks twice he knocks out a Volcanion. But even then, going with the Volcanion isn't a very great strategy in this matchup, as Jacques never has to bench more than you'd need to not still have to knock out 2 ReshiZards. Zac thinking long and hard about what to do here. It's a tough situation to be in. You have a lot of options, but it's kind of hard to map out a game plan, especially when you've had to toss so many valuable resources. Zac also probably quite low on welder at this point. Choosing to retreat the Volcanion. Probably shouldn't be putting it in the discard pile, but Jacques quickly corrects him on that. And putting the energy on the bench. I think he's got his wires a little bit crossed here. But Jacques straight on the housekeeping there. So we see the Rapid Strike Urshifu VMAX come into play. That wonderful alternate art card. As Zac didn't evolve that VMAX until the Urshifu V was in the active, Gale Thrust will only do 30, so I think he's signaling loud and clear here that he wishes to go for the G-Max Rapid Flow, hitting both the ReshiZards for 120 damage. See, now in an ordinary game where Zac didn't have to toss his switches, the path to victory here becomes very clear. Boss Gale Thrust, 6 prizes, good game. However, it's a little bit more difficult now. He might have to work that Mewtwo Mew into the rotation here, getting that some attacks. Possibly after a Flare Strike from that Mewtwo Mew. A Hot Burn would also do the job here. And Jacques still breaking a little bit, hitting that Urshifu VMAX for 110. That's really all he can do. Zac's hand, however, doesn't look great. He can Crobat for some more cards, but again, unless he finds his way into his last switch, and as well as a boss, really, I can't see him progressing the game too much on this turn. Might be in his interest to begin setting up that Mewtwo just a little bit more. He has the Hearth in hand, considering whether or not to play it. He knows Jacques' hand isn't great, so there might not be enough energy for him to really continue setting up those benched attackers. Also, Giant Hearth allows him to thin the deck and increase his odds of drawing into a way out in the next turns. Zac playing Cherish Ball, eyeing down that Heatran GX. Not to be confused with Volcanion, although they're kind of similar looking. At least I think. You can tell me I'm wrong. He's still pondering on what to go for. I think Heatran's kind of good here. You don't even really have to bench it. You can sort of just wait it out until Jacques puts a 3 prizer in the active and then spring the Hot Burn on whatever comes in. His ReshiZards having already been damaged, Hot Burn won't need to use nearly as much energy to get a knockout here. Right now, a 3 energy hot burn would do the trick. However, if Shark's able to get heat energy or big charm into play, it'll need 4. But as of right now, Zac has 4 energy in play, so that line is pretty good. It allows him to set up other attackers while still having that Heatran option for a later turn. Zac's next problem is he's running very low on bench space. He's got a Victini that's really not doing much and wants to draw cards with Crobat, but
Sorry, I missed my name. Going back in.
that makes a Heatran play more difficult in the future. So he tosses the Heatran with Giant Hearth.
Oh my god, one.
That's interesting. Interesting that he'd play the Giant Hearth, and interesting that he'd throw away the Volcanion here.
Misplayed one.
I think that's a pretty valuable attacker in this matchup, especially with the way his deck's been going. I think you need all the burst attackers you can really get in this matchup once you've tossed your switches like he has. So he has Rapid Strike energy in hand. He could attach this to the active. Oh, and he chooses to retreat. And he promotes the Victini V. So the Victini V will be hitting short for a knockout even on this one prize Pokemon here. He's sorry, never mind. He's gone for the I want to say Flare Starter? No, Spreading Flames. Spreading Flames is the attack. Allows him to attach 3 energy from his discard pile to his Pokemon. So we see 2 going on to that Mewtwo Mew there, bringing up to a total of 4, and 1 on the Rapid Strike Urshifu here. So that Mewtwo's ready to copy ReshiZard's attacks should Zac be able to get it into play or into the discard pile. Not sure I've seen it in the deck though.
I really could have used him this way.
There's a small chance he's prized it, obviously. But already that 4 energy is enough to copy Hot Burn for a good 200 damage. So if Zac can find his way into a boss's orders here, he'll be able to take 3 prizes and really get the game going early, needing 1 more decent attack to close the game out and take his round 1 match win here. Jacques putting that Lily's Pokédoll in play. Can be pretty valuable for just buying yourself a turn here. Obviously, Lily's Pokédoll doesn't give up a prize card.
Is it not doing well? Huh? Is it not
And
doing well?
I mean, effectively, the Volcanion doesn't really either. It doesn't change what Zac still has to do to win this game. So unless Zac can find a boss's orders here, Jacques has 2 more turns to draw into what he needs to really get the ball rolling in this game here. We see an energy come down on one of the damaged ReshiZards here. Both of the bench ReshiZards have 3 energy and 120 damage. Shark just going for the high heat blast into the Victini VMAX here for 110 damage. Both of Zac's VMAX Pokemon in play have 110 damage on them, so they're both in trouble. They're both in danger of being knocked out by a Flare Strike from Shark's Pokemon here.
Also, there is so much going on.
Victini VMAX having 310 HP, however, it's susceptible to just a double blaze for 200. 200 plus 110 is perfect math on the Victini VMAX. You do, however, see a boss's orders in Zac's hand, so
I tell them to you.
he can retreat this Victini, and it has 2 energy on it, and we likely won't be seeing it attack for any meaningful damage in this matchup. We could see a Hot Burn knockout here on one of the ReshiZards. Zac thinking over what he what he should do here. Jacques taking a sip of the energy drink, keeping his brain sharp. Although Jacques' hand as it is, there's not a lot of thinking involved. Pretty much attach and announce an attack.
You said it.
Huh?
You said
I
it.
didn't say exactly what the card is.
I didn't say that either.
I mean, technically.
Zach's still thinking it over, and we see the boss's orders.
I believe it.
Of course you're going to go for the
I think this is a good play. You put Jacques on sort of a timer here. You can take a knockout with the Hot Burn GX.
flip that GX counter.
Sorry, no.
Yeah, Zaza.
Although, yeah, that's what we see. We see the Hot Burn GX for 200 damage. Knocks out that ReshiZard. Gives Zach the first prizes of this game 3. And with that, Zach will only need to knock out this bench ReshiZard to win the game. So, Jacques with his hand, as poor as it is, could be in a lot of trouble here.
He's like, objecting. Oh,
And this game could be
It's fine, I got finished
over
game
quite
two,
soon
because, like,
if-
didn't see the pro bet, wouldn't bet any play foul.
Zach only manages to find another boss for that bench ReshiZard in the coming turns.
So you could have march out it and got Day.
I know, I killed Marshadow. And then he proceeded to grip.
But we see a pokey here in Jacques' hand off the top deck.
Please,
Fuck, I should have kept energy as well in case it hit me.
yeah.
It'll have to be a pretty good pokey here, but this could bring him back into the game. Oh, the suspense. Oh, there's the greens.
Oh, that's pretty good though.
So that greens exploration is absolutely huge. Jacques will be able to take any 2 trainer cards out of his deck, and he will no longer be in top deck mode, just waiting for the cards to come his way. So we see that greens come into Jacques' hand, and it looks like he'll be able to sort of start a continuation chain here, that he won't be relying on his top deck so much anymore. Looks like he's eyeing up Power Plant and Reset Stamp in this hand. Power Plant would prevent the Mewtwo and Mew from attacking, as its perfection ability would be shut off. However, Jacques really needs to take a card that allows him to draw cards in next turn. You just got out of top deck mode, and when you do that, you don't want to be putting yourself right back in there. A Reset Stamp, on the other hand, would set Zach's hand to 3 cards. And with a full bench, Zach wouldn't be able to play Dedenne anyway in order to draw fresh cards out of the deck. He would need to then play Professor's Research or a Welder in order to really progress his board state here. So we do see Jacques opt to take the Reset Stamp in the Greens Exploration. Zach's already shuffling his hand in anticipation of the Reset Stamp.
George, I'm not playing snap.
And shuffling his hand into his deck, he'll be drawing 3 cards out of the deck here. And Jacques just hitting the Mewtwo and Mew with High Heat Blast for 110. This puts it in range of a Flare Strike for a later turn, but not a Double Blaze, however. Victini VMAX is in range of Double Blaze. And we see Zach's 3 cards. So a Quick Ball, and he top decks Welder. I believe I also see his final switch, perhaps, and a Rapid Strike Energy as well. So he could attach the Rapid Strike Energy to his Urshifu VMAX, possibly in anticipation of a boss play in an upcoming turn. Decides to throw away the Quick Ball with the Giant Hearth, taking a Fire Energy. I wonder where he'll place his fire energy, however, as he might be about to retreat this Mewtwo, as if he leaves it in the active, it's
84 seems good.
probably about to go down, and as it's his last and best attacker in the deck, yeah, we see the Welder to the Victini VMAX, drawing 3 cards,
Unless he ate.
Eldegoss V and a boss for next turn.
Now I know where it is.
Too bad, hey.
So Zac could be about to set up game here. Zac retreats into Victini VMAX here, and I believe we'll be about to see a Spreading Flames put that energy back onto the Mewtwo and Mew, as well as putting on an energy onto the Victini VMAX there for retreating purposes next turn. Zac, however, did draw into that last switch in the deck, so he has greater mobility than he has had pretty much this whole game, given that he's been looking for that last switch and only really been able to find it last turn. And yeah, we do see those energies come down. The Victini V will be able to retreat next turn. The Mewtwo and Mew on the bench is still loaded up with 4 energy. However, still no sign of that ReshiZard for Zac. That ReshiZard would give him 230 hit points worth of damage off Mewtwo's attack here. And that would be enough to close out the game. He also has the Rapid Strike energy in hand, so a Gale Thrust into the ReshiZard as it is would also end the game in Zac's favour.
Scary, isn't it?
Jacques. Taking a look here with Greens Exploration, looks like he's eyeing up that power plant. That power plant would shut off that perfection ability and it would force Zac to take a different route with attacking next turn. Looks like he might be taking the Great Potion too, instead of a continuation card. Great Potion's it's a good play, as it would take the ReshiZard out of range of Gale Thrust here. So with the ReshiZard out of Gale Thrust range and unable to be hit by Mewtwo and Mew thanks to its ability being shut off, it looks like that ReshiZard might have a pretty safe attack coming up here. And as Victini VMAX is in the active, he doesn't even have to Flare Strike. A Double Blaze will do it here. So we do see that Double Blaze attack, the GX marker is flipped, the Victini VMAX is knocked out. So Zac would need 2 things this turn to come back this game. He would need ReshiZard either in play or in the discard pile, and a way to remove that power plant from play. Now he used that Marshadow ability very early in the game, so his only option would be to play another Giant Hearth. Jacques taking a very diligent look at Zac's discard pile here, really wants to have a proper idea of what's in the discard pile there. Zac considering promoting the Crobat. He does have that switch in hand, so he does have the luxury of promoting a Pokemon that he doesn't necessarily plan to attack with. Not that he even can attack with Crobat in this deck. 70 damage and poison, it's nice, but if you can't power it up, not really worth it. I think we see the Giant Hearth in Zac's hand. Yes, we do. So he'll immediately be able to bump that power plant. Mewtwo and Mew will be online once again. He would only be missing a way to get the Crobat out of the active, which we know he has a switch in hand. He would just need ReshiZard in the discard pile. He could take this game 3 and the match. Zac thinking it over. This is a difficult turn. He has that rapid strike energy in hand. Although the Urshifu VMAX and the Mewtwo are both susceptible to a flare strike for a 3-prize knockout, a game-ending 3-prize knockout. Zac playing it slow here. He's chosen to boss up Jacques' Volcanion here. Oh, I like this. So he's gone for the G-Max Rapid Flow, knocking out the Pokédoll and putting enough damage on that ReshiZard. Problem there would be being able to... Oh, we see the greens here. I think this will be for game. Yep, we see the switch. And if there's a Fire Crystal in deck, I think Jacques takes this match right here and now. I think Zac would have had trouble even if Jacques didn't put gear into the greens here. He has no way to get that Urshifu VMAX out of the active. It has no energy on board. He has 0 switch left in deck. And the recording's cut out here, but we see the Fire Crystal here. So Jacques' path to victory is very easy here. And this is what he did. He Fire Crystals for 1 energy, switches into the ReshiZard, Flare strikes for 230 damage, and that's the game. Jacques takes the match 2-1, and he will go on to be 1-0 in this tournament.